Hello and welcome to Wait, It Gets Better, the improvisational storytelling podcast. We create stories for you to listen to on your commute to your awesome vacation home. You're welcome. I'm, of course, Levi.
I'm Reed.
And I'm Seth.
And we are here to tell you a story. We are on the third episode. Finally, Reed and Seth are back. I'm so glad to see you guys all here together in the same room. Kind of. We are
Absent
back for
in body, present in spirit.
Yes. We are on the third episode of the story we have called Planetside, which is a sequel to The Great Reset, which is a sequel to Hero from the Past. If you want the full context for this story, listen to those two stories first and then Planetside, because there's a lot of themes that come forward. So far in this story, we have had a economic system, the sequel, a pantheon. Well, not really a pantheon. That was the one that Seth got the first week that he wasn't here for. So we don't have a pantheon.
I kind of tied it back into the little bit of the pantheon that was rising up in the previous ones.
With your hero's sidekick. Yeah, we have a villain. We have Reed was going to have famous person last week, but he wasn't here, so that's fine. And then we had a hero's sidekick. What did you guys have this week?
I've happy ending.
I have unique vehicle.
And I have wild card. I'm going to give a little tiny brief outline of the story and what we're going to try and get accomplished today. So it's been 300 years since the firestorm virus. Humans and Outworlders are slowly starting to rebuild. They've started to recover after 300 years, but the firestorm virus still plagues them. The firestorm virus is a virus that comes and destroys all and corrupts all computer systems, released by an AI from the Great Reset book at the end of that. But it corrupted itself, and now there's a deep space satellite that every 4 months brings the firestorm virus back to the Earth and rekindles it in computers and computer systems, in robots, in electronic systems, and it's like the AI that released it kind of corrupted itself, so now it's just kind of dead set on killing humanity. Humanity has decided it's taken them 300 years to do this because every 4 months, all of the computer systems go kaput and all the androids and computer servants that used to serve people and construction equipment and everything and toasters and everything tries to kill people. So it's been like 300 years of trying to slowly eke out a system. But what they've done is the Outworlders and the humans have created a rocket. So they have a rocket and they're finishing it up. And there's a debate happening right now if they're going to shoot the rocket up and put a payload on it and destroy the satellite, the deep space satellite, so that they can rebuild, or if they are going to man people on the satellite, on the rocket, and try to land on the satellite and turn off this virus from being broadcast so that they can, communicate. They can rebuild, but also they would be able to then communicate with the Outworlders' other people to let them know that the virus was contained. The thing that's kind of running the economy right now is there's a specific group of Outworlders who are just called the Slimies. They're very strange people, and their ships are more resistant to the broadcast power of the firestorm virus. Their systems are more hardened, and so people actually harvest bits of their ships that have been shot down or have been the ones that have been compromised, and they're lining the sides of the rocket with it. That's kind of what's holding back the rocket expedition, is the fact that it has, Reed, pick a number 1 through 8.
6.
We got 6 more months until we'll have enough of this element, this metal element, in order to protect it as it flies up into the atmosphere. There are religions that have kind of cropped up around this metal. People use it as good luck charms. One of the things is that all of humanity is kind of pointed towards the rocket. And what I mean by that is that the cities are open. They don't put up walls. They don't try the people have decided to abandon those behind them in light of facing the rocket, right? So let the weak who cannot protect themselves during the firestorm days die, because we need to get this rocket off the ground, right? So that's what I mean when I say they seem to be focused and turned towards the rocket, right? Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the first week. The second week, we introduced the hero's sidekick and the villain. I'll talk about the villain and then about the hero a little bit, and Seth can finish talking about the hero's sidekick. So the villain, his name is Kane. He's an Outworlder. He's from the Outworlder race that brought the dog, Clunk or Thud was his name in one of the other books.
Thud, yeah.
Yeah. He's stocky and large, and he has been at war. His is one of the largest federations and one of the oldest. The Slimies being the oldest group of explorers that left Earth. And they're at war with the Slimies. And he has two terrible secrets. The first terrible secret is that he has information on a way to basically subvert the Slimies' protection, right? Maybe he has access to their bypass codes that allows him to access their networks, and he is being manipulated by an AI that is taking the form of Teach to show him and try to get him. So he's on the side of the government that wants to put people on the rocket, right? Because he wants to get a copy of this virus, and then he believes he can retro-create it so that his systems aren't affected, and then use it as a weapon. So he is kind of a brutal, kind of military kind of guy, but people are shocked because recently he's become a lot more eloquent, a lot more well-spoken, and part of that is the sort of the manipulation of this AI. And this AI has been doing this, it's not just one AI, it could be just one AI, but they've been doing this to people for the last couple hundred years. They've been kind of tricking people to leave the city or the cities. Now I imagine there's only one city left on the planet, to leave the city and to sort of join these kind of cults, personalities who are either AI or run by or influenced by the AI. And they're kind of siphoning people off, trying to cut down on the amount of people that are able to resist or able to be around. That's close to what we were talking about, right, Seth?
Yeah.
Great. So this Kane is fully and completely, no one knows about it. His apartments and complex is right next to the rocket. He does not believe he's being manipulated by the AI. He believes that somehow he has gotten the upper hand. But, don't make a deal with the devil. He's been making deals longer than you've been alive. So, and then our hero's sidekick is Cal. You want to tell us about Cal, Seth?
Yeah. It shifted a little bit as far as how, the story goes, but I think he's, I don't know, did we say that he was like a delivery guy, or he was not a delivery, I don't know. Anyways, he eventually meets up with our hero, or the group that our hero is with, after getting
a pigeon. He kills a pigeon. Basically,
he kills a pigeon.
He kills a pigeon and finds himself on a journey to a monastery. That's the long and short of it.
Right. So he finds himself on the journey to this monastery, where then they kind of take him in and start kind of redirecting him into helping them along, until then eventually he comes across our hero and is kind of taken under the hero's wing, and becomes the hero's sidekick, and is kind of trained throughout all that, is trained and taught what this kind of monastery and this other group of people are doing. And that is with these AIs that kind of either manifest or take shape, almost like the Terminator thing, right? Where they're a robot and they could look human, or they're kind of taking over the mind of someone that's got an implant or whatever it is, and then making these cult of personality kind of things where they draw people out. And of course they're attached to some of the AI and the firestorm, so they kind of preach this, come with me to this compound and we'll be protected, and then for a while they kind of show that they have kind of power over part of it, right? But it's kind of a false facade. And then eventually they just kind of get enough people in their things and they kill them. Anyways, what this monastery and stuff do, they find their traces back all the way to, if you remember in the first one, you had, I think, Reed, you brought in the fighting style.
Right.
right? So they find their traces pretty much all the way back to there. And then kind of as those people were kind of finding, as everyone had kind of gone away from any, reality beyond what, they could, I wouldn't say conceptualize, but bring for their benefit, then it wasn't, didn't exist. They had forgotten God, whatever. But these people had kind of started finding, that there was, a higher reality behind what was like physically apparent, and it kind of wrapped into their fighting style. And then you have in the second one where you have, the wise old man that was the kind of the monastic, the hermit, right? He had pulled aside and they had kind of their monastery order. That is where that went to. And then that is where these people are now. And one of the things they do, they're not huge in number, but they go around and then kind of like Old West, showdown style, kind of like half fighting, half almost like exorcism, take out these, can detect and take out these corrupted AIs that are pulling people aside or all this stuff. And so that's what they do. They kind of travel around and save these people out of the, these compounds and take out the these cult of personality AIs that are kind of pulling everybody aside. That's kind of the long and short of it.
And who is the hero? Is someone special?
Okay, so here's the thing: is the hero is Charlie, not Charlie's descendant. We kind of retconned a little bit, but it all makes sense. And then my element that I have today will tie in a little bit to this as well. So
great.
What we have is Charlie, like the original Charlie from way back before the part of the story that we have not talked about that isn't in one of these sequels of books, who had frozen Teach and had kind of kept him alive and then unthawed him and brought him back way back in the first story. It's the same guy. Charlie had always been Charlie, right? Probably a lot of his descendants are the people that are in this, the fighting style, the this monastery, these people, but our hero is the same and original Charlie. The reasoning behind that is somehow, because he was, before all of these stories started, he was involved in like kind of the, I don't know, be it like the CIA or whatever, some intergovernmental thing that had access to all this stuff, which is why he was able to, kind of survive the original apocalypse, freeze Teach, and then kind of bring him back and kind of have his network, was because he had all kind of this tech and all this other stuff that was being done. And I think, but anyways, I can explain why that is in a minute, unless you guys have anything else to add as far as how the other part of the story went.
Just go into your element. I mean, I imagine Reed will want to go last, but let's hear about what did you say you had? The unique vehicle?
Unique vehicle. So the unique vehicle is what has been keeping Charlie alive. And I think we kind of figured that it was almost to the technical state, like they have in the Ender series, where when they travel that near light speed.
Right. Once you get up to relativistic speeds, what's 2 months for you is 20 years for someone else.
Right. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah. So anyways, this device that he has is none other than, I believe it was in episode 34. I think it's 34, but I think we all know the name. Winston is betting on the Hornets.
What?
It's the cage.
It's episode 36, but
36. I was close. See, I was close.
He has the wasp cage?
He has the wasp cage. It was a device. So then that brings in, we'll have to go look at that and see how then whether Winston is betting on the Hornets is something that would take place pre all of this or maybe after all of this. But it's our tie-in to the larger story, as you will.
Absolutely.
So whenever, I don't think we touched on this then, but the idea, if anyone doesn't remember what this wasp cage was, way back in the near beginning of Wait, It Gets Better, we had a unique vehicle. It was like a bird cage, and it had wasps in it, like wasps. But if you stuck your hand in the cage and got bit by the wasps, it would like demolecularize, I think if I'm remembering this right, kind of like demolecularize you, and you could almost like move through like space. I don't know if we did time, but like space and almost like a, not altered state, like a high state, like doing drugs, but like just kind of outside of, yeah, kind of. And so that state, when it does that to the molecule, it like makes the whole body almost move at that near relative light speed. Not that you're going that fast, but it's like that's what it's doing to the molecular structure. So when you're using it, it's like altering, and that's what's kind of keeping him, as everything is passing around him as he's using this or has used it. Maybe, that's one of the things. It makes him kind of almost age outside of the rest of time going around him.
Right.
So I'm kind of retconning that side effect to that unique vehicle. But that's what he has.
When you say retcon, like that's a like retroactive. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm taking something and adding something now to it that kind of fits inside of okay, so if anyone's familiar with Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
I've heard of it. I'm vaguely familiar with it. Yeah.
Okay, so in The Return of the Jedi, and they're storming the place where the shield is, right? One of the rebel soldiers is this old guy with a white beard, yada, 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 right? And whatever, I don't think he has a line, but he's in the background and you see him. Okay, so then when they do like the animated show for the Clone Wars and whatnot, there's one of the clones in there that gets his chip removed for Order 66. And then ends up becoming part of the rebellion later on. But again, they age a lot quicker, and so he's like super old, but he kind of comes back in. Fans of that then said, oh, I wonder if that's the guy, right? However, none of that show was written. No one knew that character was a thing, back in the 80s. But then they kind of took and said, well, why not? There's no reason, because the older Rex looks like that guy. We'll just go ahead and say, yes, that was him.
Yeah. Retcon stands for retroactive continuity.
Okay.
But there's a lot of retcons that exist. Like there's a lot of things that exist that had to exist. Like the whole concept of Darth Vader being Luke Skywalker's father is a retcon.
Yep.
So he's retconning
Spoiler for anyone who doesn't know.
Oh, whoops. So Seth, what you're retconning is that the wasp net cage unique vehicle from episode 36, Winston is betting on the Hornets, when you activate it, it moves your body at sort of relativistic speeds and therefore drastically slows down aging.
Correct.
And perceived time, I guess, as well. Because you could last a long time where most people would starve to death in their outside perception of time, but your inside perception of time would be like mere minutes or hours even. So, Cool. How will we make this thing happen? I have no idea. But it's great. So that is how our original hero, Charlie, a.k.a. the hero to the book that was written before Heroes of the Past that we never actually did an episode on. I feel like we kind of have to do an episode on it now.
Yeah, just prequel this whole thing out.
Yeah, maybe we'll do like a maybe since it's so planned, we'll do just like a one episode. Like how did Charlie get the Hornet cage vehicle? How did he know this all was going to happen? Just so that there's some answers. We can do our own retconning.
That's what I want, is some answers.
Yeah.
Some answers. Wild thing. Was the villain from Winston is Betting on the Hornets, his name wasn't Charlie, was it?
Oh, I don't remember.
Okay. We'll have to go back and listen to that, but
I do not remember. That was a while ago.
It was a while ago. I remember then, like a year after that, everybody brought topics of that back for the recap episode thing that we meshed, and it got some more stuff. But anyways,
no, we had a villain, a unique vehicle, and an ending scene. So maybe I'm just looking at the thing. Anyways. We're currently doing a story now. We're not rehashing things. We can talk about this next week.
Okay.
So what's your opinion, Seth, on the storyline as it's going now? So we know how Charlie survived, but do you have any thoughts about how the hero is going to have some kind of resolution with the villain?
I think like building up to it, you have maybe an assembly of like these fighting style people. As the rocket gets closer, you have like the firestorm is getting closer. And perhaps it's like this firestorm and then a few more months and the rocket will be ready. But I'm thinking then that did you have a name for the villain?
Cain.
Cain, yeah. Cain is then maybe working in secret to try to get it ready ahead of time, because maybe he's being like kind of like it's not going to be inevitable that like more people are more apt to want to send a payload than people, and so maybe he's wanting to then hijack the thing, launch it early, and just so long as he can get there, and then that's kind of pushed to fruition. Well, I would say I'm just imagining kind of an epic close to close of this story as all these kind of fighting monks and stuff are coming, like I say, over the hill, but down as then the firestorm is starting to happen, and so then like all the technology is turning on everybody. Cain is trying to get to the thing, and maybe he's being led on by what do you call it, who's gonna maybe then he reveals that he's actually an AI, but he's quote unquote overcome the firestorm. And so if he comes with him, he'll help him get to the rocket and hold it back and stuff, and so that he can get the rocket out and get to the satellite, right? I don't know. I'm just kind of spitballing ideas here as kind of like he's trying to rush for the rocket, and the teach AI is kind of like holding different things back to get Cain through the fray to get to the rocket, and then they have to fight like the guards to get into the rocket area so they can try to launch it. Well, these people are fighting the firestorm AI that are fighting the people as they're trying to last ditch effort get to the rocket and either one steal it ahead of time or hijack it, destroy it, if it's the firestorm thing. So it's just kind of a big free for all heading
A giant fray.
heading into
Yeah. Part of me was thinking that Cain has been trying for years to get people to come to his side. And it was like pretty much 99% payload, 1% passenger. But with Cain sort of taking notes about how to communicate and be a public speaker, because he's like a military guy. He's like a military-minded kind of engineer, get things done, brutalist, we'll survive it. We don't need radiation shielding kind of guy, But he started kind of learning from this AI, and like slowly I don't know what kind of government it is. I imagine it's kind of like a council of people have been slowly being swayed, right? And with that slowly being swayed, the walls, the efforts to finish the rocket have been increasing, right? So the walls that used to protect the city have now been abandoned as of the last, 10 years. And there's giant gaping holes in them, as
like, why do we need this, weapon over here when it has some of that metal that we need for the rocket?
Right, exactly. And this is like the sort of the culmination of this is the complete abandonment of everyone on the ground, because Cain doesn't ever plan on coming back, And my thought is,
what's a little solar radiation in space when, all you need to do is get this information out.
Exactly. My thought is that somehow Charlie and Cal get called to come to the city, right? Because they both have kind of this, because Charlie has, and because Cal is his Padawan or whatever, they basically get called, and because they have such great sway over the AI, because they can't be deceived by it, like as soon as they walk in the door, Cal and Charlie can like look at people and see how they talk. Like we spoke about this last week with one of the ways that Cal found the instructions to go to the monastery was in a note wrapped around a pigeon's leg that Cal had killed in order to eat. And the note was written in a specific way with specific verbiage that made it so that people who weren't overly influenced by the AI would understand a connotation meaning to it. And so then when he showed up and understood this connotation meaning, it was like a recruiting method. Then they sent him off to the monastery because he can learn. He isn't totally influenced. So they can walk into a room and people start to talk to them, and they can gauge how much the AI has infiltrated their psyche by how they talk, right?
Yeah.
Because that is what the AI has been trying to do this entire time, I've just realized, which is infect humans with the firestorm virus. That's what it's trying to do still, because remember at the end of the Great Reset, the AI thought this ought to fix it with no mind for consequences, which I thought was a really good way you did that, Reed.
Right.
And so it's trying to infect people with this firestorm virus. And that's what it's doing. And that's what Charlie and his order and Cal are sort of immune to. So they have to go into this place. And my brain says that they get volunteered. Like some of the council members say, okay, we will vote to do the passenger as long as we get to send our own people with you.
Yeah.
Right? And who do we want to send? Well, clearly the master of seeing through AI manipulation, Charlie, and his Padawan goes everywhere with him.
Right.
So I hope I'm not ruining your happy ending, Reed.
No.
Anyways, so the wild card is that the rest of the world, the rest of the worlds, the rest of all the other places are all infected with the firestorm. That this
already are?
Yep. That this deep space satellite, they weren't able to turn the receiving satellites off soon enough. And so this deep space satellite, every time it reaches its broadcast space, right, which is at the peak of its 2 month, it takes 4 months. It takes 4 months to get to Earth, because it goes 2 months out into a peak broadcast zone, broadcasts, and then comes back, right? And every time it does that, it re-ups the virus, because every other broadcast satellite that's out there that's repeating the signal is then re-upped with the virus, which then broadcasts it out, which is then re-upped, and it's spread already. So all these outworlders think and feel like they all they have to do is get off planet, all we have to do is destroy the satellite, and then in a couple of months we'll have a deep space broadcast system ready to send to our people. But no, that's not the case. And this is the fact of why the Slimies won't let anyone leave on their ships with them, because they know this, and they've been kind of using all these planets and making them feel like they're the last ones. They're the last planet that exists. So they're kind of devious and kind of slimy. They're not evil. They're just selfish, Anyways, that's the wild card.
Cool.
That's really cool. It's terrifying, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, because I can sort of imagine this moment where, Kane has his compadre of scientists and military personnel, his family, basically. And his thought is, I'm going to get up to this satellite. I'm going to capture the firestorm virus on this special storage device that I have that's, tape. It uses tape to record data, right? So there's no network connectivity. There's no way for it to corrupt itself, because it can't read itself either, right? He has this whole strategy for how he's going to copy the firestorm virus, and then he's going to turn these satellites back home towards his home and basically send out all of his, I've completed my task, my father's 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 father, set us down this path because he was the last, it's like duty and obligation for him, and Charlie and Cal come onto this, come with them, and they can both tell that Kane is almost speaks another language, the way he talks.
Yep.
Almost speaks another language, the way he talks. He is something's wrong, or not wrong. Yeah, something's wrong. Something's amiss. I'm not the one with happy endings, so I can't say how it goes, but I imagine
he's putting his E before I, except before C, or I don't know.
Yeah.
No, yeah, maybe. I was there was these books, the Mistborn, and there was a character in it who spoke in a dialect, like a street urchin dialect. And it was kind of like shorthand leet speech. It's like he was having the need for water.
Yes.
And that's how he communicated that he needed water.
Yeah.
I was having the need for water. And it's that kind of strange kind of where you can still kind of pick out what he means, but he has been sort of trained to communicate with this AI and then communicate with people, and that's how he's been able to sort of incite the people, is that he speaks this kind of deep resonance language. Anyways, you gonna tell us? Should I keep going, Reed?
No, I think, well, this whole thing started the first episode of Hero from the Past. I was asked to interject the explain the pantheon, and I just said the official policy that there are no gods. Religion, belief in God, or a pantheon, or the mystical, or the transcendent is just considered mostly quaint, foolish ideas of primitive and backward civilizations where frightened men kind of make up mythical deities to explain what they can't understand, and
Right.
And so here we've got this world where, with this tech that is beyond anything we can imagine, and it's been a struggle. And then, we've followed this struggle trying to get control of, or in some cases, turn these bots off, right? This nanotechnology. We have this, the fighting style, you brought this back, Seth, this idea that among this monastery, it's kind of like in a world where everything is material, rational, objective. Fighting, is just reduced to mastery of weapons and bringing to bear superior force. I mean, but among a few for whom, honor and valor and courage and loyalty, the traditional romantic notions that really transcend being reduced to language. These things have been kind of rescued virtues from an increasingly cynical society, and like a martial art form kind of arose, among these people that were seeking to those core things that make humans stand out from the technical world, so to speak. And it's Cal and Charlie that, they can spot it now. And the pervasive, and then with the realization that the slimies have been used to isolate, make people groups all over feel that they're the isolated last kind of holdout of humanity, is, divide people and conquer, right? It's an age-old story. Well, the magic system that I got to have introduced, I just, in a non-pantheon world, a completely materialistic world, what does that even mean? And I'm sorry, I just, what I wrote down for the magic system back in one of the episodes of The Great Reset was simply this: divine empowerment heralded by angelic beings. And what has happened with Cain, Charlie has hung on to his humanity throughout the years, throughout the ages, throughout these centuries, really, because he knew that there was a shift toward this sterilization of the human race, so to speak. And we've seen as the AI has infected and taken over,
Right.
and literally to the manipulation of people like Cain. Charlie has trained Cal now to kind of twig to it. Yes, can't you see, just by the way they speak, they don't really have a basis. I mean, the whole point of speaking to one another, the spoken word, out of the heart, the mouth utters what is true. And, we are limited by language, and so many things in the human experience has been to seek for that transcendent place where to know and truly be known, to express our hearts to one another in a way that is beyond just the mere rationality of manipulating language.
Right.
And this is, and so what we've got here is we have the secret weapon. And Cal and Charlie loves Cal. He's his Padawan learner. He is, seeking to embrace all that is human and come along. And the AI is seeking to erase all that is human. And they just simply turn it off. It's all right there. It's all right there. It isn't. It's almost as simple as the off switch. And they fly up there, and Kane believes that his thing is his plan is being undertaken. It's not, because they know all along. Charlie has understood all along, as he has preserved the means to keep track of the old learning, that all he has to do is turn it off. And they get aboard the transmitter satellite, and even in these far-flung worlds, when the system is just turned off, it's in the quiet that which is human responds to what really is, and they carry on.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for this episode of Wait, It Gets Better. This conclusion to a trilogy. This third book in possibly a quintilogy? I don't know. We'll see if anyone draws a sequel next week. That would be insane.
It would be insane.
Join us next week as we talk about this story and as we read a short story based on this story. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Reed himself is going to write us a short story. No, he's not going to. I don't know if he is. I would love it. If you love this story and you wanted to write us a short story in this universe, I would love to hear it. I would love to hear it. I will read it on air. I will give you full attribution. It's awesome. If you want to write any short stories on any of our podcasts, it's great. And if someone does write one about this story, that's going to be awesome. However, if no one writes about this story, then I'm going to have an AI write a short story about this story.
That's awesome.
And we'll see how terrible and good it is. Hopefully it'll be okay. It'll probably be pretty terrible, but we'll see how it is next week. And then we'll know. If you want to send us your short stories or questions or comments, constructive criticisms, if you want to yell at us, if you want to compliment us, send us a message at waititgetsbettercast@gmail.com or message us on Twitter at @getsbettercast. We will see you guys next week, where we will be discussing this story and how it went and landed. I imagine we'll probably discuss the whole trilogy about how it went and landed and our thoughts and ratings on it. Thanks so much, everybody. Bye.